All right, we are now recording.
Hello, everybody. How you doing? Sorry we're late. We were caught in traffic and then caught in mental personal traffic.
Personal hell.
So, here we are tonight, a little bit late. We're going to be talking about Team Ico on episode 13 of Respawn Lounge. I am your host, Casey Moore, and to my left...
Casey Moore.
And to Casey Moore's left?
Also Casey Moore. No, it's actually Daniel Kemper.
And it's great to you hear us. So...
Quality.
So, in case you live off the internet, off the radar, except for listening to our podcast, you know that in 5 days, The Last Guardian releases. And if you don't know what The Last Guardian is, this is what originally was conceived as Trico. It is the sequel to Shadow of the Colossus, which is the prequel to Ico. Ico is a, I want to say 2001 puzzle platformer by Team Ico, who is a subsidiary of SIE Japan Studio. Yes, 2001.
You're correct on the date.
Okay. You play as a small child with horns as you run and platform, puzzle your way around. Tagging along with you is this maiden that you're escaping with for some reason or another. I don't want to spoil the game. And you go through, you push blocks, you pull levers, you swing from ropes, etc. And it was not a super hit. It sold reasonably well for this company's very first game. Following this was the, I want to say, 2005 Shadow of the Colossus.
I believe you're correct.
Which was kind of a platformer at its core. You run and you jump and you stab.
Yeah,
yes, 2005? Okay. And you strictly fight bosses. You fight 16 colossi, and they range from, airborne ones where you have to, lure them into flying at you for you to jump up and grab on and, climb around and stab them on their weak points. Some of them are, smaller but, more agile. There's one that's like a dog that you have to, push around with a torch.
Yeah.
And this game was received much, much better. A whole lot of people play it. A whole lot of people consider it one of the best PlayStation 2 games, and it was one of the first games that was kind of cited as an example of video games being used as an art form. So, for having two pretty significant and at least one very well-received video game under their belts, Team Ico has been pretty silent since then. Until, I want to say it was E3 of 2015, where they finally officially announced that The Last Guardian, which is the third in the saga, is going to be released soon. Where were you when Last Guardian was announced?
God, it was not so long ago. I actually don't remember.
Yeah, well, I think
when
it was
first announced.
Do what?
When was it first announced?
Very first, it was in in game magazines in 2007, I believe.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's been understood that it's been a thought in someone's head for a very long time, for 9 years at least. But everyone's saying it's been 9 years in development. Probably not actually in development. Probably been a concept for 9 years. But I know official work began probably at least a year before its 2015 official re-announcement.
Mm.
So a lot of people are very excited about The Last Guardian. I'm excited about it because I very much like Shadow of the Colossus. And I actually played Ico for not the first time, but first time in a meaningful way, not as a child, this past weekend. And I think they're both really cool. And I think that I think they're slightly amateurish, which, obviously Ico being from, new hardware from a new company is understandable.
It shows its age a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. Video games have to start somewhere. Companies got to, lay their roots at some point.
Yeah.
But if you're interested in either of those games, in 2010 or 9, I think, the HD collection of the two of them were released for PlayStation 3.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So very easy to get your hands on that. It's not much. At GameStop, it's $15 or something. Very easy games to get your hands on. Also, even the PS2 versions aren't incredibly rare. PS2 games were made in high density because the system was such a strong seller.
Yeah.
So, I just kind of want to talk about not only these two games that Team Ico has created, but also their parent company, SIE Japan Studio, who SIE Japan Studio made. Let's see, they made Legend of Dragoon, Rogue Galaxy, Ape Escape. Let me think. Siren.
Yeah, Shireen the Wonder? Or
No.
Cyrene the Wonder?
No.
Oh,
Siren.
The Siren games?
Yeah.
Oh,
And they made
yeah.
Lokoroko and Patapon and a couple other. They're I think they're owned by Sony obviously because they're SIE. You know.
Yeah.
But they've made a lot of like, not quite hits, but a lot of like pretty well respected games.
Yeah. I love Siren. I think Siren's really cool.
Yeah, they're kind of like the second tier of like must haves on their given platforms. So that's a pretty reputable company. They've more recently made Tokyo Jungle and Soul Sacrifice, or rather they published those two, I believe.
Sounds great.
And they did create Knack, so they do have one tick against them.
I'm actually unfamiliar with Knack.
So Knack was it was the 2013 launch title for PS4, and it was.
Oh yes, okay, yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, it's not amazing.
Yeah.
So the brain behind Team Ico is Fumito Ueda, who is also a animator and a director. Not of very many things. He was the animator for Dino Shotutaku and Enemy Zero. He's the director and lead designer of Ico, Shadow of the Colossus, and Last Guardian.
Mm-hmm.
So, have you been keeping up with all the info on Last Guardian?
I have not been watching too closely. I've been seeing the trailers coming out. I don't own a PS4, so like I don't really have any way to get this game, so I haven't been trying to hype myself up on it too much.
Yeah.
But I've been watching the trailers as they've been coming out, and I've read some articles and stuff.
Yeah. And you said you have played Shadow of the Colossus.
Yes.
What'd you think of that?
I loved Shadow of the Colossus. It was one of my favorite games as a kid. I picked it up just randomly, like having no idea at all what it was, and started playing it. I thought it was really cool.
Mm-hmm. And you didn't quite finish it, you said?
No, my first time I got to, I think, the third to last Colossus. It was whichever one. Oh, okay, I actually do remember which one it was. It was whatever one. It's in the underground sand area. It's the giant snake, where you have to look backwards on the horse, which is like a combination of buttons that you're not told.
Yeah. And that's tough. That's actually easier on the PS3.
Yeah.
Which is the first version I was able to beat.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know, I didn't have internet at the time, so I couldn't look up how to turn around, so I just couldn't beat it.
And that's also not an easy boss. Like even for that game, that's a pretty difficult one.
Yeah.
It's that, and I believe the 8th one are the notorious ones. The 8th one being the dog that you have to get with the torch I was talking about earlier.
Oh yeah.
Because
fun.
It's a cool idea, but it's a little bit finicky, and because it's like smaller and agile, you don't have as much time before it like flings you off.
Yeah.
But the game itself, I think, is I like Team Ico for being kind of the anti-popular kind of game creators, because the idea was at the time of like 2005 was like bunch of dudes on screen. How many people can you kill real quick? Like Devil May Cry 3 came out at the same time, I think, roughly.
Yeah.
So that was very like murder a bunch of little enemies and get stronger. God of War was big around this time.
Yeah.
And this game said like no, only bosses. And it was a very, minimally designed, but, it played to its strengths very well, and that's why it's so well received. And I think it's definitely better off for it.
Yeah.
And then, have you ever kept up with all the little, rumors and stuff like that about this game?
Like
the extra colossi and doing really arbitrary esoteric sequences to make new colossi spawn supposedly, which was never proven true or anything.
Okay, I actually don't know too much about that.
Yeah, so there originally were planned, I think 64 and then later 32 colossi. Yeah, right. Which is why the world is so big. Which even with that trimmed down, I do think that it's better off having so few, because 64, they kind of lose their luster. They got to bleed together at some point.
Yeah. I mean, all the boss fights in Shadow of the Colossus feel pretty unique, and they're all interesting in their own way. They're all actually cool bosses.
Yeah.
I think at 64, you probably would have had a bunch of repeating.
Mm-hmm.
And especially in a game where it's the only gameplay is fighting bosses, that would have gotten real boring real quick.
Yeah. I do like having fewer but, more clever ways to go about fighting them and such.
Yeah.
And you said you've never played Ico, correct?
I played a little bit of Ico before. I played the first hour, and I went back this week and replayed about like the first hour and a half.
Okay. So, do you think it holds up, or?
I think it shows its age a lot. It has some issues. Some of the puzzles are kind of weird.
There were a lot that I don't know. You probably didn't get to this one because it's a little bit later. But there's one sequence where you have to like stand on a switch to make the girl come through like a waterway, and then you have to reach down and pull her up. But there are two switches in there.
Yeah.
So it seems that you want to have her stand on one and you stand on the other, and something happens. But that's not the case.
Yeah.
What you're supposed to do is like have her stand on a switch for you to run out and then go out and grab her. But it is possible to have her run up to the door and you like call her through so that her AI is telling her to run through like as soon as it's possible to, and then you can go down and open the button and she run through it. So I did that on accident, and I was like, well, now how do I get out of here? And then just random trial and error things. It ended up being that I had like found the solution to the puzzle, but her AI just didn't walk over for me to do it. So I thought it wasn't the solution.
Yeah.
And I was stuck for like an hour, just like ramming my brain against this, and that's where it shows its age, I think, is...
The AI is a little wonky.
Yeah. And it's very bold, and I really respect it, because like I said, for their first game, and even like Famitsu Ueda hadn't made a game before this. He was the animator for stuff, but for... I don't know, there's just something really special to a company just saying, like, we're going to make our first game and screw every mold that's ever been created.
Yeah. I thought... I love... how like weird and strange the story is, how weird and strange all the characters are, how you like really don't know anything, like especially at first about like what's going on in this universe. Like there's just like some elf girl in a bird cage, and there's like a magic lightning sword, and you're some kid with horns for some reason. They're gonna lock you in a sarcophagus and like sacrifice you somehow
to something or other.
Yeah. Also, dedicated hand holding button is kind of cute.
Yeah, well, because one of the minor things I have a complaint with the AI is that it doesn't run at the same speed as you.
Yeah.
So when you do hold her hand and you run, she'll like dash to catch up to your speed, and then like halt, and then you just like get your arm stuck, and then you have to like just bounce your way down the staircase.
Yeah. She just really doesn't seem to have any idea what's going on, why you're doing any of the things you're doing, why you're trying to go any direction.
Yeah, and I've been told that she gets more expressive and more bold, and is like will make jumps that maybe she wouldn't at the beginning the farther you get into the game. But I never noticed such a thing. I didn't finish the game, unfortunately, but unless there is like a flag at which she like suddenly begins to do these things. But if it was gradual, I didn't notice it.
Yeah.
Which if it is the case, then good, because it doesn't need to be apparently it doesn't need to be abundantly obvious, because that kind of breaks that illusion. But yeah, I do plan to finish it, because it's a historically significant game, and it's also not a bad game or anything.
No. Just a little old.
Yeah. And we hate old video games here. So, Shadow of the Colossus, do you know of the ending?
Oh yeah.
Because I think you watched me beat it once.
I don't remember if I watched you beat it. I mean, I've seen the ending multiple times, just through different sources. Because like once I finally got access to the internet, which was like 3 years later, I still was really interested in Shadow of the Colossus. I just like obviously like was unable to beat it at the time, so I still wanted to see what the rest of the game was like. So I like watched people play the rest of it. So yes, I do know how the game ends and all that. So
for everyone else, the whole course of the game in Shadow of the Colossus, your character, whose name is Wander.
Yeah, Wanderer.
Yeah, rides his horse aggro, and which also the parallel to dedicated handhold button is dedicated yell aggro button.
Yeah,
which is cute, and I love it.
Uh-huh.
But you bring I suppose like his bride to be or something close to that. I say bride to be because she's in like seemingly a wedding gown or some kind of white dress. She's obviously a parallel to the girl from the first game, from Ico. And you lay her on an altar, and she appears to be dead. And and he prays to some god of this temple that he's in, and it says go kill the 16 giants, and that'll give you the power to revive her. So it turns out that's a demon, because of course it is.
Yeah.
And the 16 giants you're fighting are the, manifestations of power in the world as, like, land guardians, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And each time you kill one, Wanderer gets, they're like power releases, and it's this black tendril, like, obviously evil, that just gets absorbed into him. And at first it's just like, okay, he's draining their power and it's harmful, or it's like too much power for him or something. But then you get into situations where after you beat the bird boss and you like fall into the lake, you're swimming away from him, and the tendrils like go into him, and he like seems to drown.
Yeah.
As he goes like face down and falls unconscious, and then you just wake up back in the temple.
Yeah.
So what it turns out you're doing is actually you're breaking apart these guardians who had, kept the fragments of this demon soul. And ultimately you're bringing them back and becoming the avatar and the vessel for this demon. And this order of clerics or paladins or some such force come at the end of the game after realizing what's happening, only for you to like turn into the giant demon, and then you have this just like slaughter fest with them and kill them all.
Yeah.
And the horse dies, and it's the worst part of the game. And but after all is said and done, when you're finally taken down as the demon, because I think it'll actually go like basically forever until you eventually die. I think your health actually has to deplete all the way.
Okay.
But when you're defeated, all that remains is a baby with horns who is the child you play as an Ico.
Yeah.
So I think that's I really like that Shadow of the Colossus is not only retracting the design philosophies of previous games like Ico was, but also story philosophies. You're going to save the princess or whatever it is, but you're also like horribly misguided and like going to destroy the world.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's the same demon or something similar as what's worshipped in Ico, is what everyone else, like what you're being sacrificed to, which is maybe why that character was in the first place, because they had part of the demon's soul or fragments of it or something.
Child with horns.
Yeah, he had the horns of the demon.
Yeah.
Someone else has the arm or dick of the demon.
the villager from Animal Crossing.
Yeah, it's
Villager from Animal Crossing.
yeah.
Yeah.
In the first Animal Crossing, he has horns.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Because that's the indicator of males, I think. Because I don't think the girl has horns.
No, the girl just has really ugly, like, pointy hair or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
horns, but it's ugly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those games are both really cool.
Yeah.
So
Very good video games.
So for The Last Guardian, I've heard of people who have played like demo copies and such saying that it's more. They say it feels like a PS2 game, which I know what they mean.
Yeah.
But I have a hard time holding it against a game if it plays like the best-selling console of all time. like that doesn't sound that much like an insult to me, but I know what they mean is that the controls are kind of stiff and it doesn't have the kind of the modern conveniences of like 6-axis and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. I mean, this game releases on December 6th, and those copies have been out since like August or October or somewhere around there.
Yeah.
So that's something that could have changed. I'm sure if that was significant, then the review copies or the early copies exist for feedback. So
yeah.
That may not be the case in the final version if that's going to kill your pretense to buy this game. But I think they've only shown cinematic trailers so far. I don't think they've shown gameplay yet.
Yeah.
All of which look really cool. What we know is there's a kid and there's a big ass rat.
Not a rat. He's like a dog griffin.
Have you seen this? He's definitely a rat. His face is a rat like as can be. He's got a snout.
Oh, it looks like a dog mouth to me.
I've had minimal experience with any of these games. I didn't even know what The Last Guardian was until like actually 2 weeks ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's good because Team Ico didn't either.
But I was at GameStop not too terribly long ago and saw what I now know is a shirt for The Last Guardian, but it looked like they looked like Ghibli characters. So I thought it was for a Ghibli movie that I hadn't seen, which I also thought was really weird because I've seen all of them.
Yeah.
But that's been my experience with The Last Guardian, and then like actually realizing, oh, this is not a Ghibli movie, so I have to go look up stuff for it, and like it feels aesthetically Ghibli-esque, which isn't bad.
Yeah, and the graphics are very notably like high bloom, no outlines.
Yeah.
Like Even on like the PS2 versions of the first two games, they seemed HD. Like the transition onto the PS3 versions almost is insignificant because they just looked so good in the first place.
Yeah, they look great. They're very beautiful. They're very stylized games.
Yeah, a lot of grays, a lot of browns, but not like in the shooter way, but in like more of a like, natural environment kind of way. Like even the structures are like made of like just pure stones and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very beautiful games.
Yeah, they're pretty. I would. If you like the type of game that Journey is, or like, Vanishing of Ethan Carter and stuff like that, and you like a little more action, I would recommend these games through and through. Even if not, if you're the type of person who just likes to play historically significant games, I'd say this is a good place to start.
Yeah. I mean, like, even now, even though Ico didn't sell very well, it's still a very talked about game.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of it is in reference to Shadow of the Colossus because people love Shadow of the Colossus so much.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, like, both are very significant games.
Well, Shadow of the Colossus had the advantage of any and all marketing.
Yeah.
Because I remember there were like Game Informer issues that had Shadow of the Colossus on the cover. They had stands and statuettes at GameStop and stuff like that. It was a very hyped up and talked about game.
Yeah.
Which seems like almost wholly divorced from Ico's legacy.
Yeah.
Because I remember seeing used copies of Ico for like $5, like just discarded discs and stuff.
Also, Ico has some of the worst cover art I've ever seen in the United States.
Yeah.
It's really bad.
So I believe both the European and Japanese version of the game feature, really tiny silhouettes of the two characters running across a wasteland with like a really pretty windmill and stuff like that in the background.
Yeah.
But the American cover art is just like a close up of the kid in an action shot, and it looks really horrible.
Yeah, his like early PS2 3D face.
Yeah.
And then there's like, I guess it's the girl's face. It doesn't even look like her. It looks it just looks really bad.
Yeah.
On the left side, just like sort of transparent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just not indicative of what the game. Like, you wouldn't be too off the beat to just like think this is an action game or something just from the cover alone.
Yeah.
So I think that may have been part of it. Is like people saw that and they're like, "What the fuck? No!" Like.
Yeah, because it looks. I'm sorry if whoever worked on the Ico American.
If the
Don't
Ico cover art
apologize to
artist
them.
is listening to this podcast, yeah.
Don't apologize to them. That was a mistake.
No, I'm sure they've learned their lesson.
They better.
Yeah, the European art is like beautiful and like it looks like a painting kind of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is very thoroughly like the type of game that this is trying to sell itself as.
Yeah, it's a very art game. Advertising your art game as an action game doesn't make action game people like it because they still buy it or like hear from their friends that it's some lame art game or something.
Yeah, so that was misguided, and I don't know. I wonder if Ico had done better. Do you think that Shadow of the Colossus would have been changed? Because it seems like Shadow of the Colossus is almost an answer to the like non-popularity of Ico.
Maybe.
And I know I keep alternating Ico and Eco.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think if anything had changed with the success of Ico, Shadow of the Colossus would probably have been a very different game. Because Ico still did decently well. So, like, if it had done terribly, Shadow of the Colossus probably wouldn't have come out.
Yeah.
And if it had done very well, they probably would have done something more like Ico, but maybe, some, like, better version, as opposed to, like, some new idea.
Yeah. It seemed like this was their compromise.
Yeah.
Like, how can we make a puzzle game, but make it more appealing to the onslaught of action games that people are clearly obsessed with at the moment? Because this was in the era where you had, on the same console, you had 2 God of War games, you had 3 Jak and Daxter games, 3, what's it called, Ratchet and Clank, Sly Cooper, all kinds of stuff.
All kinds of very good games.
Yeah, action adventure,
games.
And in order to exist in the same market as those things, like some form of combat had to be there. So I think what they said was like, okay, well, how do we merge combat and puzzles and make them, also monumental and interesting?
Yeah.
And that's where I think they hit their stride. Is like, how can we, just break this down to its bare components and just really polish that to a spit shine? And I really think they hit the mark. Like, I can't think of much more that could be improved about Shadow of the Colossus without, violating the integrity of the game, without, changing too much to the point that it's unrecognizable as the product it's meant to be.
Right.
I mean, more bosses would be appreciated, but not to the point of them, overlapping too much and losing their luster.
Yeah, I think 16 was a very good number.
Yeah, I don't even think I could think of like 64 different ideas for like, yeah, for boss fights that would be radically different. Just because like I have seen a little bit of Shadow of the Colossus and everything. I wasn't allowed to have a PlayStation until actually a couple of months ago when I just bought my own. So I unfortunately have very minimal experience with most things that have come out before 2000 and whenever the PlayStation 4 was released.
2013.
2013, yeah.
That's weird. I think it's like 3 years old now.
Yep, it'll be dying soon, maybe.
And they haven't re-released these for PlayStation 4. It wouldn't surprise me if they did eventually, just because like packaging all three together would make sense.
Yeah, I can see that happening in like a year after release or something.
Yeah, but I do remember like Breath of the Wild is like the game that I've been following super close, and when the first trailer for that was announced, everybody immediately compared it to like Shadow of the Colossus because of the trailer where you fight that huge like mecha thing and everything. So it's like I know about it because everybody talks about it forever, and I know enough about it because everybody talks about it. Like
existing in pop culture will do that with these kinds of games.
Yeah, which is really weird to think that like I have never played this game. I don't think I've ever really seen anybody else play it either. I've never watched like a Let's Play or anything. But I know enough about it to understand when people draw comparisons to it, which really I guess speaks to how well it was made, especially because like a lot of games from that era are not particularly memorable.
Yeah. The PS2 had like a lot of games, just a whole lot of games. Many of them are great, but like
I mean it sold what was it 40 million units for a reason.
Oh yeah,
it was crazy. So we're gonna take a break real quick, and we'll be back, and we'll talk more about our expectations and hopes for The Last Guardian. Okay, and we're back. So now we're going to talk about the game that we've come here to actually discuss, The Last Guardian. We're going to talk about what we expect, what we wish for, that kind of thing. So I'll let Dan take the floor.
For Last Guardian?
Yeah. What do you think it's going to be? What do you want it to be?
So I think it's not going to be like the huge dramatic hit that Sony seems to want it to be.
Yeah.
Because they're not those kind of games. This is going to be a probably pretty interesting, sort of experimental in some ways, like puzzle platformer-ish kind of game, which is like not the kind of game that sells like millions and millions of units.
Right. My first thought was, after they started showing it at E3 and stuff like that, was this game's going to sell monumentally well based on hearsay and word of mouth and just like acknowledgement of the history of it. And then it's going to score like kind of badly because people who this game is not meant for are going to be playing it because of hype and expectations and stuff, and they just don't they don't know what they're getting into is what I think is going to happen. But I do think it is going to be a good game because Team Ico has never steered me wrong. They haven't had a lot of chances to, but they've thoroughly impressed me in the context of the hardware and design philosophies of the time they've been working in with both of the games they released. And I do. It is going to be a puzzle platformer, obviously.
Yeah.
It definitely seems like it's. I almost feel like this is their, like masterpiece of what they want Ico to be. Because the character looks like the character from Ico, which means not much. But right. The trailers indicate that like bosses are probably not a big deal. We've seen them like run past like windows that have like the little rat dog dude like walking around them too. It seems like it's going to be a lot of like running from monsters and very little fighting back.
Yeah, because I mean, like obviously the whatever the Last Guardian is, though I'm going to call it weird Griffin dog thing. That's what I think it looks like. Is obviously like a baby. Yeah.
So I wonder if that's the Last Guardian or if he's the Last Guardian, the kid, or is it something we haven't seen yet?
Yeah.
Who's Ico?
one of them is the last guardian of the other, or maybe the metaphor is that they're both the last guardians of each other.
Yeah. It's Titanfall 2.
Maybe the guardian was the friends we made along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Guardian was the power of friendship.
Yeah.
This is Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah.
That game will also maybe come out someday.
Yeah, we'll talk about it if and when that happens. So, what I want is exactly what I expect, and that's it to be Ico 2.
Yeah.
I want Shadow of the Colossus to have been them compromising and still managing to create a masterpiece. I want this to be them being an experienced company who's been in the world for longer.
And has money.
And has money and the blessing of Sony to actually go and create Ico in the form that it was always meant to be in.
Yeah.
And I believe that will happen. My only gripe with their philosophy right now is that they are releasing it very close to Final Fantasy 15's release, which I think is a dreadful mistake.
Yeah.
Because Final Fantasy has been out for 2 days and it's sold like 7 million copies or some shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's Final Fantasy. And
Yeah.
it's a Final Fantasy that, like, people are actually excited about.
Right. But, that is an open world game, which Last Guardian's probably not, but it is an adventure game.
Yeah.
So there does seem to be a little bit of overlap. And I know people who just like video games. People are going to buy Final Fantasy. Like, people of all walks of life, of all genre preferences and so forth, just buy it for title alone.
People who have PS4s will buy.
Yeah, and the $1 billion they spent on advertising, just an insane amount of time and effort went into that. And it seems like it's paying off for Final Fantasy, but I question if that's going to, set a climate for Last Guardian to succeed in or not.
Yeah.
I feel like the first week's sales aren't going to be super indicative. I think it's going to be closer to the end of the holiday season that we start to see how successful it is.
Yeah. Game releases, especially recently, have been, like, really disappointing in sales. Dishonored 2 sold bad. Watch Dogs 2 sold bad. Call of Duty Infinite Warfare sold, like, almost nothing.
I think part of that, the 3 games you just mentioned have like all come out pretty recently, like within the past month or so. And part of that is there's always buyer hesitation right before the holidays. People are saving money. They're not buying things for themselves, they're buying things for others. And video games usually sell well more into December because everything's been released in November or beforehand. So we'll start to see games picking up. I think The Last Guardian is going to get buried because, I like to think of myself as a pretty average informed person, a medium amount. Like, I follow a couple websites on Twitter and everything, and I don't read every article. And I didn't know about The Last Guardian until I saw a shirt at GameStop, which was not advertising at all in the way they wanted it to be advertising.
Because you thought it was a different product.
Yeah, because I thought it was a different product, but also because the shirt is not meant to be an advertisement. It's not meant for it's meant for somebody who already knows about the game to see and buy, and it's money that they can then see is being spent on game merchandise, and then that's factored into the success of the game overall.
Yeah.
But it is worth noting that October and November are like shooter season.
Yeah.
And it is like unprecedented that Infinite Warfare did as bad as it did.
Yeah.
Well, I think people are
incredible.
Getting tired of Call of Duty, and that's
sure.
a different topic.
Yeah.
Completely, but.
But it did have Modern Warfare backed in, which makes that really surprising to me.
Yeah. Did you see how it was sold on the Windows Store also?
It was.
2 people, wasn't it? It was only 2 people bought it.
It wasn't that only 2 people bought it, but like there was no one on the multiplayer. The multiplayer was just dead.
Well,
like what you were talking about. Like there were 2 people online when a guy was trying to find a match.
Well, and see, part of the problem with that was that they had promised cross-platform with Steam.
And they lied.
So, the 5 people that bought it from the Windows Store got their money refunded.
Who decided to buy it from the Windows Store instead of Steam?
Is it Infinity Ward who made it? Or is that still the company behind the Modern Warfare games?
Yeah, because actually, yes, it's Infinity Ward. Infinity Ward is no longer the same people who made Infinity Ward, because all of the heads and main developers of Infinity Ward left Infinity Ward, made Respawn.
Mhm.
Us. Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually almost said Respawn now. I just said Respawn Studios. Made Respawn Studios and have been making Titanfall ever since.
Oh, okay.
But Titanfall also sold horribly.
Right. But Titanfall 2 is actually good, so that's odd.
Yeah, I mean Titanfall 2 is also good. It came out. It was an EA game. It's you can only. I'm only talking from a PC perspective here. It's an EA game, and you can only buy it on EA's service, which like is still like a big hang up for a lot of people. It was a big hang up for me, which is why I like waited a week to buy it.
Yeah, we like had to force Stan's hand to
Yeah.
like scroll the mouse over the purchase button in
'Cause,
the
like-
Origin store.
Yeah, it was worth it. It's a very, very good game. But Battlefield 1 also came out like a week before, which is a
Right.
huge issue.
Yeah.
Um,
But even if you combine the sales of those games, Watch Dogs, etc., Dishonored, it still is like a conglomerate. Like, it's not like these people were buying one and not the other. Like, it's
No.
a small amount of people in total bought these games.
yeah, and it is something that you'll see just kind of in retail in general. Like having worked in retail for as long as I do, and now starting to get into like the more managerial aspects of it and everything. Like the store that I work in, we've noticed before the holiday season began on Black Friday, God save us.
Yeah.
The store became like incredibly slow, and it's because everybody is saving money by not spending money so they can spend money later.
Yeah.
Because everybody thinks deals are better. And
Yeah.
typically there are deals, but usually you can get better deals on things. Usually before Black Friday, because they want you to come into the store.
Uh-huh.
Because it is such a problem that there's so much buyer hesitation and people saving up for the holidays, and it starts in October and goes well into November around Thanksgiving. So I think at the end of the holiday season is when we're going to really be able to get a good handle on sales for games that have even come out
Yeah.
before.
But then when you consider the demographic of Last Guardian 2, it's not the type of people who are going to hesitate.
Yeah.
The people who've been waiting for Last Guardian are like, give me this fucking game. Like,
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's why, yeah, I think you're right. I don't think we're going to see. I think it is going to get buried for the holiday season because people are going to be buying the Battlefields and the Watch Dogs.
Yeah.
And I think the people who buy Last Guardian are going to do it no matter what.
And I think another thing that's going to happen is people's moms are going to see the cover
Cute
for
dog.
Last Guardian. Yeah,
Cute
see
rat
the cute
dog.
dog,
Yeah.
and then buy it for their kids, even if they don't want it.
I wonder how much that happens anymore though, because I've been so out of the my parents buy me video games state for so long.
It
I'm sure that
happens
still
a
my
lot.
Yeah.
Especially to me, that's how I have 5 knockoff Cooking Mama games for my DS. It does happen a lot, especially because like stores like GameStop do get so swamped that there is no way for like everybody to have a decent interaction. Like the reason that I'm good friends with the GameStop employees at the 2 GameStops I frequent is because I don't only go there for the holiday season to buy people gifts. I am there all the time so we can actually talk about games and like get to know each other.
Yeah.
And when it's the holidays, video games are a huge, multi-billion-dollar business.
Yeah.
And a little advice: befriend your friendly neighborhood GameStop employee because you'll get cool free shit.
Oh, absolutely.
Because we get shit all the time. I've got so
Yeah.
many keychains.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. If you're listening.
Posters. Yeah, my main man, all of them at the GameStop down the road from here. But yeah, they don't have the time to spend with every single person who comes in the store
Yeah.
to actually tell them what their kid wants. These people are probably going to say, where are the PlayStation games? Either see the huge wall of PlayStation games and just go over them
And
themselves.
then pick a new one for Christmas for their kid.
Yeah, pick
Yeah.
one that they know their kid doesn't have. Probably they're going to get something that's on the wish list and then see the cute dog thing and be like, oh,
Sure.
yeah, this is family friendly because they're going to also see that Watch Dogs 2 has an M rating on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or whatever, which happens a lot as well, like people not really
Which is-
paying attention.
And
I mean,
that's
like-
that's true. This might be the only non-M-rated game coming out for the holiday season that I
Yeah,
know.
that's
of.
sort of
That
true.
isn't like for PlayStation, yeah. I think that Pokemon is also going to increase exponentially because if everybody didn't.
I don't know. I think everyone on the planet bought Pokemon already.
Yeah.
Well, if
I'm
they-
the only person who didn't buy Pokemon yet.
If they didn't buy Pokemon, they're probably waiting for Christmas for someone else to buy them Pokemon because they don't have the money to.
Yeah.
Or they're like,
Or it's the kids who.
or they're going to get a DS for Christmas and also the Pokemon game.
Right.
So it wouldn't surprise me if kids, families also got a PlayStation 4 and this, because it's the only.
Well, I don't know that there is a PS4 with Last Guardian pack-in, which, people may buy it separately, but
Yeah, that's true.
you do have the options of like Battlefield and
Well,
so forth.
it's also in the situation where if you're a parent buying this for your kid, unless your kid's like 15 or so, because technically you're not supposed to play M-rated games if you're under 17, but 15 I think is kind of the accepted
Yeah.
range, unless you're a family, like your mom buying your teenager that bundle, you're probably going to end up buying the console separately and another game, or the console with the game bundled and another game. Just because most people will start a console out with 2 games and not
Right, just in
the
case one of them's bad or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there is like when parents go to buy these games, it's packed in. It's probably not that good, or they're just trying to push it or something.
Yeah,
Which is, a lot of the time that's kind of true.
Yeah.
Well, like Wii Sports is the really big one.
Is
Where,
the best selling insofar that it packed in with every Wii, so is it really?
yeah, but it's also like very much, I think the reason that a lot of parents will do that is because, it comes with a game, so we don't have to buy one for a little bit, so that way we can spend money on other gifts. And then you get Wii Sport, and it's fun for like half an hour, but it gets very old very fast, so I think a lot of people do end up picking up 2 games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or another game on top. So I think it's going to sell okay, but it is going to get buried pretty easily.
Yeah.
But I still think it has the benefit of it's dedicated fans are gonna buy.
Oh
it.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like I'm gonna get it, like probably not on release because I'm still playing Final Fantasy, which again is why I think that's a problem, because I buy a shitload of games and I'm holding off on this 9-year-old long game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if you're gonna buy Last Guardian, the season has close to nothing to do with you doing so.
Yeah.
Because the people who've been waiting for Last Guardian were, if they're not 18 presumably, or in like college or have a job or something by now, they were 9 when Shadow of the Colossus came out.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're the same kind of people who were following that. And
Right,
if you grew up with either Ico or Eco or Shadow of the Colossus, by now you're probably old enough to have money and a job or something.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Those games came out like 16 years ago.
Yeah. So if you've been following it from the start, unless you were 2 when you got Eco, which is possible, but I do think that the demographic is going to be strong enough.
Yeah.
And I think that Last Guardian selling well would be a nice precedent to set for the industry, because I this whole year I've been thinking like Last Guardian, Final Fantasy 15, these kind of let's back up from the shooters and the fantasy action games and stuff like that, and like what can we really do with the graphical fidelity and like objects on screen and stuff like that. Like how can we make this like a visually stunning game? These were the 2 hallmarks of what is like, this is what I want the future of PS4 to be. This is what I think this console exists for.
Yeah.
And I really, really hope that, because Final Fantasy is proving that true, and I really hope Last Guardian maybe even rides its coattails to success, perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a really, really, really big fan of artsy games and everything, like games being made. I mean, Last Guardian, Team Ico isn't necessarily a small company.
Pretty small.
I mean,
Yeah.
yes, but like some of the people they've had backing them and everything along the way, and being able to make a game in theory for 9 years is not something you can do very often.
Yeah.
But I hope that it does well enough to where other people kind of take the jump into making games.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people who could make some of the best games are afraid to, because the market is so saturated with specific types.
And I think the rise of the indie scene lends to that too. Like we are seeing a lot of offbeat. We're seeing games like Journey become popular in recent history. So I think that sets a good precedent too.
Yes,
Yeah.
I hope that more games like Journey and like The Last Guardian and like Abzu and everything else, because there's been a couple here or there that I've heard a lot of hype about, and I've ended up buying myself. Like Abzu was one of the reasons I got a
Abzu's
PlayStation
great.
4, Yeah, because my computer could not render the
Oh.
water.
And speaking of which, Abzu just got a free update on PS4 Pro for everyone who has that
Oh, right.
to take advantage of the new system features.
Right.
So that's not us, but
Yeah, that's
but
not
if
us.
someone listening does have a PS4 Pro, I highly recommend you go back and you play Abzu now, or maybe try it for the first time.
Mhm.
It is good. But yeah, like I hope that indie games become a lot more popular and like
Yeah.
there's equal almost like screen time when it comes to like websites covering them as there
Mhm.
are like the 8 million Call of Duty game or whatever.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think it's,
we are starting to see that kind of like diverse, the market trend philosophy of like diversify your assets kind of thing, because we're
Yeah.
seeing US Gamer, Eurogamer, Kotaku, etc. cover those kinds of games with equal intensity that they do Call of Duty and Battlefield,
Right.
And I
which
just
is fine
hope-
because I think a market can exist for both. Like there's no
Oh,
like
yeah, of course.
people are like Call of Duty is ruining the industry. No, it's not. That's part of the reason video games are popular now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I do think that video games are definitely something that everybody can enjoy. The problem is that like not everybody knows like Call of Duty is really, 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 really big. And for the longest time, that was like my really big turn off for not getting an Xbox or even a PlayStation when I was able to like get a job and
'Cause
actually
that's where
buy it
video
for
games
myself.
start.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like everybody could enjoy games. The problem is that not a lot of things that are a little more offbeat are getting exposure, but now
Yeah.
they're starting to, and I just hope that the trend continues. So The Last Guardian doing well is mildly crucial to that, I think, but not
So-
like it's not resting on his shoulders.
Right.
But it doing well is not going to hurt at all.
I think a really great part of this is retail dying a horrible death that it deserves.
Yeah.
And digital taking its place. Because with digital, games don't need to sell 100 billion copies on the very first day, because then no one's ever going to see the copy ever. Like no one's ever going to be able to buy it again.
Yeah.
Like I can buy games on Steam and like support the developer from like games that came out like decades ago.
Yeah.
Uh,
When you create a number of copies that must be sold, you're pouring money into those discs and those cases and the plastic and so forth, and you like insist that, and you have to like just hit this nail on the head of like I have to sell precisely this many or within like a really small range of copies of this game, and if you don't sell that many, then you wasted money. If you sell, if the demand is higher, well, people are going to complain that you didn't create enough.
Yeah.
But with digital, that just is not an issue ever.
Yeah.
Well, the problem with retail is not on the developer side; it's on the retailer.
Yeah.
Because the like places like GameStop or wherever, GameStop I think is kind of it at this point, the only real brick and mortar that I can think of, like EB Games, but they're owned by GameStop.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah,
like
I mean,
Target,
that's it.
Walmart.
Yeah.
Yeah, they sell
Well,
they sell games there, but like that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, they purchase the games from the big companies,
Mhm.
like from the publishers, and then they have to figure out what the hell to do with it.
Right, and then the retailers also have a stake in what sells. So
Yeah.
Best Buy isn't going to advertise Call of Duty and not Last Guardian because they just want to make the most money they can.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, like with a brick and mortar store, like your big issue is like space. You can only have so many like copies and like so many different games in your store, especially if you're like most GameStops like aren't really that big. Like you can only have so many individual kinds of, or so many individual like different games.
That was that was the really big problem with Amiibo when they were super popular, was that Nintendo, in order
Oh,
for
yeah.
a lot of places to have their Amiibo contracts for them to like send them shipments whenever they got in, you had to keep up in a dedicated Amiibo space. But then there was nothing on them because everything was selling out. So it was, you had to keep these empty racks.
Yeah, which looks
until-
terrible.
Which looks
Yeah.
horrible. Like one of the first rules of retail is like fill holes.
Yeah.
Like that's usually when you start out at a job, that's what they make you do, and you suffer forever filling holes. But empty shelves look bad, and Nintendo would make people keep these shelves up.
The
And-
king of questionable marketing decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though maybe it was like one or two of the more like overproduced Amiibo types. So that's like, yeah, shelf space is a huge thing, especially because every GameStop I've been to, like except for maybe one, is a closet.
Mhm.
So bring this back to Last Guardian. is Last Guardian going to be available on PS4 digitally?
Oh, certainly.
Okay,
Probably,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, what I'm thinking is going to happen is that Last Guardian's not really going to sell that well on like physical copies when it comes out. But as long as there isn't a like huge consumer backlash, I mean, because we've seen that with like a lot of games recently.
Mhm.
But as long as there isn't like a huge consumer backlash against The Last Guardian for no particular reason, then the game will be able to continue selling well on the physical copies that like exist afterwards, which will be less. But then it'll also sell really well on digital long
Mhm.
afterwards, especially during sales and everything when people are like interested in the game. But you know, like they didn't really see it as like the $60, you know, like must-have game. Of the
Yeah,
year
this
thing.
is the game that they've heard a lot of people talk about, but they haven't played Shadow of the Colossus, so they're kind of waiting to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a slow burn kind of successful game.
Yeah.
So anyone who goes to like follow this game, don't get too hung up on initial sales because they're, especially in this climate, it's not going to be indicative of this game's success at all.
Also, just like don't get hung up on sales in general.
Mm.
True, except for Pokemon, because every human being now comes pre-installed with a Pokemon game.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's interesting when games break huge sales records and stuff like that, but it's also not.
Well, it's not indicative of the game's success or its quality, or
Yeah.
'cause you have to consider, what month is it, what quarter is it in, what platform is it digital or not?
What else is coming out?
Looking
Yeah.
at looking at a different medium, Jurassic Park broke like huge like opening weekend records, and that movie's kind of bad.
Yeah,
Those.
and also not a whole lot was coming out around that time.
Yeah.
Also, like the Jonas Brothers 3D concert movie broke a lot of box office
Yeah.
and stuff too, and it was the Jonas Brothers 3D concert movie, so I think we all know how good it was.
Like even Ubisoft said about incredible about Watch Dogs 2 that they're actually still like, despite Watch Dogs 2 selling really poorly in the opening weekend, they said they're talking about how they're like actually very happy with Watch Dogs 2 because they say like it's a good game, it's going to continue to sell well because we're selling it on digital markets.
Yeah, and maybe not appropriate for a game podcast, but we've both gone into like rhetorical studies and stuff.
Yeah.
The like sophist idea that with two arguments argued with like equal veracity, the correct one will win no matter what. By that same philosophy, a good game will sell eventually.
Yeah.
It will pick up, maybe not in its like most crucial time.
No.
But
Makes
because
sense,
Kirby's
yeah.
Adventure didn't sell that well on NES. Initially anyway, but now people remember it so fondly, and it's been remade. It was one of the 10 3DS classics at the time,
Mhm.
things like that. So these games will pick up notoriety eventually, and the advent of digital gaming makes it so that crucial point isn't so strict.
Yeah, like I buying Watch Dogs 2 on PC. But nobody sells like physical copies of PC games anymore unless you're Blizzard, because they're horrible. I'm just kidding. Like I can buy Watch Dogs 2 at any point, whenever I feel like it. I don't have to go looking for it. I don't have to find it.
Mm-hmm.
I just have to type Watch Dogs 2 into my like Steam search, and I will find it and be able to purchase it for like probably a pretty good price.
Yeah, and forever probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess summary: Last Guardian will probably do fine.
Yeah.
It's not going to smash any records or anything like that. I expect it to be pretty good.
Mhm.
Beating Shadow of the Colossus is an awful lot to ask.
I don't think it's going to be Shadow of the Colossus.
I think they have it in them to do so, but I think between nostalgia and just like those heightened expectations, because Shadow of the Colossus really just pushed the PS2 to its limits.
Yeah.
And Team Ico doesn't, they didn't release anything on PS3.
Mhm.
In fact, the HD version of Ico and Shadow of the Colossus are arguably better on PS2 than the HD remakes.
Really?
Yeah, because while the graphics are better, the frame rate's not. And there's
Why?
yeah, and there's
Shadow
some
of the Colossus already
stuttering.
has frame rate issues.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, they don't have experience with the late PS2 hardware. They don't have experience with any of the PS3 hardware for the most part,
Mhm.
and they haven't done any even like side projects on PS4, unless members of their team also worked with like SIE or something like that, which
It's
could
believable.
have happened. Yeah.
Yeah, over a 9-year span.
Yeah. Like those guys had to be eating somehow.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, I don't think it's going to be a masterpiece, but I do think it is going to set a standard, and I do think that if it sells well, that's going to be really indicative of them creating a new game soon, which will hopefully, be the game that pushes the PS4's hardware to its limits.
Yeah.
So, any closing thoughts for Last Guardian and Team Ico?
Hope it does well. I don't think it's going to smash any records like you were saying. But I think it's going to sort of be like a pretty decent hit on release. And it's going to continue to sell well post-launch because like as long as it doesn't turn out to be a completely horrible game, which I don't think it will, I think people will, see that it's worth something and continue purchasing it.
I think it's going to be a game that I'm going to be like gently bullied into getting eventually. After I actually get context for it and sit down and play.
I mean, I'll buy it so you can
Ego.
check it out.
Well, I think since it is the last in the trilogy or whatever, the third piece at least, that I should probably play the other 2 games first, and hopefully if it does well, they'll remaster the games again and release all 3 for the PlayStation 4, which is ideal because I, being a Nintendo fan, was an idiot, a fool, and thought that everybody did backwards compatibility, and I was wrong.
Yeah.
So.
Because that's too hard, even for digital games, apparently.
Yeah.
God.
Well, okay, the PS1 Classics is actually like contracting issues, not hardware problems. So.
Yeah.
But whatever. I'm certainly not going to recommend against buying it, but I am going to recommend that you check out Shadow of the Colossus and Ico probably before you buy it, just to like really enjoy this game to its fullest capacity. And I really do expect to see this game succeed over the course of a year, not like next week.
Yeah.
So that's all we've got for Last Guardian and Team Ico. But if you stick around for a little bit, we do have a few more things to talk about. So we're going to, in case you're listening to this and you're not interested in that sort of thing, because people listening to this on YouTube, this isn't super applicable to, I guess.
Yeah.
So we'll close up with where to find us and so forth. So we've got a Facebook, Respawn Lounge. We've got a Twitter at Respawn_Lounge. If you want to get in touch with us, you want to tell us how we're doing, or more specifically in this case, for next week's episode, which is just kind of talk about our favorite games, including listener response. And we do have a few. I forgot what kind of medium this is twice.
Tell us your favorite games.
Yeah, so email us at respawnloungeofficial@gmail.com, no underscores or anything. Tell us what your favorite game is and why, and we'll read it on the air, time permitting, which so far is not an issue.
Yeah.
And if you don't tell us why, we're just going to roast whatever game you send us.
Yeah, one person did just send me the name of a game, and it's a game I don't like very much, so I'm going to have a hard time celebrating it, but I'll try. So if you want to get in touch with us, that's where you do it. We premiere on Twitch at the moment, Thursdays at 6 p.m., except today apparently, Eastern Standard Time. However, that is the most significant thing that is going to change, is we will no longer be broadcasting Respawn Lounge after this season. And this season does end with the next episode, which will be broadcast.
Yes.
Same time, same everything. But after episode 14, this is 13, we will not be broadcasting on Twitch. Our podcast, we will still do streams and that kind of thing. I will anyway. So what's going to happen instead is we are going to, I believe we also decided to cease the YouTube uploads.
We're probably gonna do maybe the first episode of the next season, just put it up on YouTube just so people don't get confused.
And then explain maybe at the beginning.
Yeah, just in case people don't see this. Yeah, we're going to be uploading, since we're a podcast and the visuals don't really matter, we're going to be uploading to iTunes and SoundCloud starting next season.
Yes.
At the moment,
Which
that's plans right now.
Which has the added benefit of external applications like Podcast Addict and things like that you can get on Android phones do sync to iTunes.
Yeah.
So there are going to be a whole lot more ways to get our episodes. You'll also be able to, play it in the car without, having to leave the YouTube app open and eradicating your data. So things like that. You're going to be able to download the episodes and that still, add to our scores, which we're not making any money, but it is still an indicator to us.
Yeah.
It's going to be different, but much easier and much more efficient to listen to us in the future. Mm-hmm. And yes, all of the previous episodes will be put on SoundCloud and iTunes as well.
Yeah.
Because we do have an archive of all of those. We will still, since we're not recording live, we are going to do episodes in advance. So sometimes news is going to not be timely.
Yeah.
So that's something we're going to talk about. Like earlier this episode, I talked about Abzu's PS4 Pro update. That's probably not going to be able to happen with that format. If something like hyper significant happens, we may still do a Respawn Extra episode like we've done in the past.
Yeah.
But yeah, episodes will still be roughly the same length, roughly the same style of topic, and that sort of thing.
You just don't have a picture to look at. You just don't have a picture to look at now.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just easier sort of on all of us. Now we're getting into crunch time and graduation and everything.
Yeah,
And
two of us are graduating next semester, and then the other one doesn't have it easy either.
Yeah.
my life is endless suffering.
And then work schedule and class schedules are kind of compromising. So yeah, that is the future of Respawn Lounge. Another change we're having is, although it's kind of been the case anyway, is Riva is going to become a permanent co-host as well.
What's
Yeah.
up? So it's the Respawn Lounge.
Ooh.
I asked Riva on after like episode 6 if Riva would be a permanent member. So that is going to be the case. So all three of us will be present, bar certain circumstances like the Thanksgiving episode we did, where we'll have to fiddle around and make things work.
Yeah.
But we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
also,
like,
that should be easier to avoid if we're doing things
In
Ahead of
advance,
time.
yeah.
that'll be nice.
So scheduling isn't going to be as big of an issue. Also, and this hasn't occurred. This has occurred once so far, where somebody has actually like reached out and asked to be on an episode. That is still perfectly okay. If anybody wants to do that, by all means. However, we are not going to be reaching out to guests with quite the intensity that we have been. Mostly because we have 3 hosts, so we have more perspectives and
Yeah.
a wider range of knowledge and input. So that's not as necessary. It's not as crucial to our dynamic anymore. But because that is the nature of this podcast, the kind of like relaxed theme of it, that is still allowed.
Yeah.
The only difference is you will have to get in touch with us ahead of time, and we will tell you the episodes that are coming in the near future. And if one of those were to interest you, then you could be on. But it's not going to be like the week before, and I'm like, hey everyone, we're doing a Dark Souls episode. Whoever wants to be on, get in touch with me. So you're going to have to reach out to us in order to do that.
Yeah.
What other changes are we doing? We're going to have a website.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, to post writing stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or like theoretical, which is why I like busted my way to the podcast, crawled in through a window.
Actually once.
Yeah.
Actually crawled in through a window before.
Yeah, that's how I became the best host on.
So,
Respawn Lounge.
and I will. What was that?
Oh, shout out to Jeffrey who just
Shout out to-
danced by the window. in
Shout
the
out to
room we're
Jeffrey. That
recording
is
in.
amazing dance moves.
So we will have a website where we will post writing pieces, which will be sometimes related, sometimes not. They'll usually be things that aren't quite long enough topics for an episode, or things that just like couldn't fit into our schedule for some reason.
Well, it'd
Yeah.
be weird to do an extra Respawn Lounge extra on.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
something
yeah.
that would be like a 10 or 15 minute episode that's not really worth the effort of getting the mic out and everything.
We still want to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those will be more think pieces from us individually. So like Dan and I and Reeve and I aren't going to collaborate on any piece more than likely.
Mhm.
We're not going to have a schedule for that yet because of how hectic school can be and work. That's not something I'm comfortable promising just yet.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally plan on at least hammering out a couple over winter break.
Right. I do have a few done already just in case.
Yeah. So I plan on trying to help build a buffer or a queue, but it's also like the degrees we're in are kind of writing heavy. I know at least for me and some of my stuff that I have to do for my minor is a lot of writing. Both
Yeah.
of my minors actually.
Mhm.
Just write city, and sometimes I just want to die.
Yeah, and as a communications and PR student, I spent a lot of my time writing too, but it also makes me pretty good at it. So hopefully I'll be able to get out some meaningful content to you guys, and Dan may as well.
Yeah.
I don't know how into that idea he is. But
I mean,
Dan can't even read. I don't know why we're asking him to write anything.
hey, I just look at numbers.
he's our stats man, not our writing man.
Dan likes games because they're moving pictures, and that's fascinating.
I'll have to read.
Wasn't there something else? Stream schedule.
Oh yeah.
I also don't want to promise that, but it is something that's in my mind.
Yeah.
You stream a lot of Pokemon.
I
I'm
do. Yeah,
also interested in streaming some stuff.
Yeah, some people have caught me streaming Pokemon.
Caught
you.
Found me red fucking handed.
Was sent a message, hey, I'm going to stream Pokemon.
Yeah, I definitely said, hey, I'm going to get shit-faced and play some Pokemon, and then just sent her a link to Respawn Lounge. So, yeah, I am a competitive Pokemon player, and with the new game having just come out, that is something that I'm keeping up with and, trying to, mold that a bit.
Yeah.
So that's something that may be more abundant in the future. But again, it's hard to guarantee that with schedules.
Mm-hmm.
But it will be on my radar, and it is something that I'm going to attempt to do. But although we do have an idea for when Respawn Lounge is going to end, it's not after next season. So there will be a point where Dan and I are not in school, which means there will be more time for such content in the farther future.
Yeah. This is our second to last semester. We're both college. Well, all three of us are college students.
Yeah.
This is our second to last semester. We're going to be taking pretty much a month off for winter break, and then season 2 is going to start.
Right. I should clarify that the following episode is our final episode this season.
Yeah.
We are taking a break for school, and the first, I don't know the date.
I don't remember.
I have no idea.
It's in January sometime.
It's too soon.
It's January 8th, I believe, is when we're going to be coming back.
4 weeks.
That's the Monday. So I'll let you do the mental math.
Sometime in
Thursday
that
for
week, I'll have something like ironed out and certain on the next episode.
Mm-hmm.
But we will be back for another season after a month break. And we are going to be splitting into seasons to do all this content and so forth.
Yeah, and then after that, the current plan we have right now is probably take like a month off after that, and then we'll be graduated from school, so we'll be just like
and then
doing it casually in our own time.
Another person who's been on and I are planning to like move into an apartment together, so there'll be time for us to go to get that ironed out. Things of that nature. So we should be able to like clear our hectic schedules within these time frames, create kind of like a backlog of things of content to put out in slow months or times that we're unable to, and we should be able to be more professional. Oh, another thing, new art. Reva is working on new art for us as well. So it won't be seemingly ripped off of a YouTuber art.
Everything still look good.
It does look good, and I do appreciate the artwork a lot, but we are coming to our own a little bit, and we are going to have something new and fresh.
Yes, I need to have official graphic design experience. Like, I've been doing design stuff for years at this point, but nothing like super portfolio ready. Mostly because it's been like little things for my family here and there.
Right.
So yes, there will be new things like cover photo of Facebook.
Yeah.
Because
Which
Facebook keeps yelling at me to upload a cover photo. I'm like, please, in due time, Facebook.
I've kind of neglected that for the time being, but that is in the works.
That will happen.
But it's just making everything seem more cohesive as well, and hopefully doing art for when we upload to iTunes, or at least getting a cover for that, since what we do now with uploading to YouTube, which is really the only place we upload, is just a picture of whatever game we're talking about, which is fine.
Yeah.
It's not like...
Yeah, I mean, it's a podcast. You're not expecting some visual splendor.
Yeah, but it looks mismatched and all that, blah, blah, blah. But, just to give a more cohesive, semi-professional looking. I mean, we can say we're professional all we want, but, like...
But the fact of the matter is I'm 21 and I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
But the fact of the matter is I am on the podcast because I decided to crawl through a window one day. Like...
This was definitely an idea Dan and I had while I was drunk at 2 a.m., so...
It's been pretty fun.
Yeah, and I have enjoyed it. This isn't, like, a tremendous burden on me or anything.
No.
So we're... the hardest thing I have to do is remember to bring my microphone on Thursdays.
Yeah.
But,
sort of remember to lock your car? Not really.
Yeah. I'm amazed I've kept the microphone this long. I never lock my car.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I shouldn't say that out loud to the internet. I'll have to start locking my car now.
They're going to track us down, find out where we live.
Find my microphone.
Find our school, and then find your car, and then steal your microphone from your car.
Anyway, I think that's what we've got in the pipeline. So we've got a lot of work to do. Well, I mean, we've kind of done most of it already, to be honest. But but that is our plans for next season, and we've been talking about this for roughly as long as we've been talking about Last Guardian. So I'm going to cut this off here. So thank you for coming out into your bedroom. And
Thanks for inviting us into your home.
Thanks for turning your computer
Yeah.
and or phone on.
yeah, to tell your mom I liked what she made for dinner. It was really nice of her. And we will be back again next week to talk about our favorite games. And once more, because I can't stress this enough, please email us at respawnlaunchofficial@gmail.com what your favorite game is and why, and we will read it on the air and talk about that game and why it's cool. Unless you don't tell us, and I'll talk about why it's bad. So
Yeah.
please get those in if that's something that you want to happen. And other than that, have a great night, everybody.
Thanks for listening.